Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you this morning. I'm Christy, and I'm honored to serve as your service leader today. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lake County is an inclusive, non-creedal fellowship that works for a just community and fosters a lifelong search for personal spiritual fulfillment. Please be aware that our service is being recorded this morning, except for the joys and concerns and the discussion after the service. Past services are available on our YouTube channel, which you can get the link for in the weekly bulletin. If something sounds too loud or soft to you, you have control in your toolbar at either the top or bottom, probably right side. There's a little speaker with curved circles coming out of it, curved lines coming out, that you can click on and use a slider to make it louder or quieter. Does anyone have any announcements this morning to share?
I do.
Okay.
Hi. Our monthly drop-off is this Thursday for Lake Cares and Open Door. It's from 11:30 to 12:30, and I'll be sending out a little email blast on Tuesday so you can see all the different items, but it's also in the newsletter too. What I haven't mentioned is we'll take money. We'll be glad to deliver money, and some people drop off checks. So I'm looking forward to seeing. We'll be safe, wear a mask, and we'll keep our distance.
And that's at the church parking lot,
That's
correct?
right. Yes.
Thank you. And Carol?
Just want to announce that our Graceful Aging will be this Wednesday from 1 until 2:30. And it's a fun discussion of all of the wonderful and difficult issues of growing older. So the link is in today's bulletin. Please join if you would like to. We have fun.
Thank you. Russ, do you have an announcement? No. Yes. You're muted if you do.
I don't have an announcement. Actually, I was playing with my screen.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I can't see who it is. Go ahead.
I don't see anybody, Christy.
Oh, there's no one else?
What was the question?
Announcements. Does anybody have an announcement? Okay. I have a couple of announcements. Today is a great opportunity for you to donate to UUCLC. You can donate from a link right in the chat box or go to the website. A new, easy, fun way to donate is to download the Give Plus app. Are you hearing an echo? Me too.
Yes.
I wonder what's wrong. Maybe I should turn my volume down. Just what I explained to you. I'll see if that helps. Is this better? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I was hearing myself later than when I was saying it. Kind of weird. Okay, also in the weekly bulletin, be sure and check the weekly bulletin and read through the whole thing, because at the very end today, or this week, I learned that you can deduct your donations to the church or to any charitable organization this year because of COVID, even if you're using the standard deduction. So that's kind of a new thing, and I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't read the bulletin. And the other thing I learned is that the Bing Futch concert that was supposed to have gone on this spring is going to be in early December virtually. So that's a fundraiser for our church. So check out all the exciting things happening. There's lots of groups and things going on. And Christy, you have an announcement.
I just wanted to clarify that that tax deduction article was in the communicator, not the weekly bulletin.
Oh, thank you. Yes, there is also a monthly communicator. And we do have a few new folks that are joining, so you might want to send that out to them. You can get their email from Kristen. Thank you. Okay. So let me look one last time. Any other announcements? Okay, I think we're good. This morning, to open the service, I offer a prayer for the earth and all the beings who have been harmed by the actions and inactions of the current administration of the United States. May all the victims feel our compassion and find relief from their suffering. I also offer a prayer of compassion for President and Mrs. Trump. May they experience healing of their bodies and hearts. And may we all find healing peace and experience justice for all. No matter how big a nation is, it is no stronger than its weakest people. And as long as you hold someone else down, you have to be down there with them. And so it means that you cannot soar as you might otherwise. Now, please join me this morning in listening to Sweet Honey and the Rocks singing this energizing and uplifting song. Feel free to sing, dance, move, whatever it motivates in you.
Children, I'm gonna do what the Spirit say do. I'm gonna do what the Spirit say do. I'm gonna do what the Spirit say do, my Lord, and obey the Spirit of the Lord. I'm gonna walk when the Spirit say walk. Children, walk when the Spirit say walk. I'm gonna walk in Jerusalem just like John. I'm gonna walk when the Spirit say walk. I'm gonna shout when the Spirit say shout. I'm gonna shout when the Spirit say shout. Oh yeah, I'm gonna shout like the children at the Battle of Jericho. Shout, 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 shout. Gonna sing when the Spirit says sing. Gonna sing when the Spirit says sing. Gonna sing. Rosin and Aretha song and better sing. Do what the Spirit say right when the Spirit say right. Gonna right when the Spirit say right. August Wilson and Zora Neale Hurston. You better write. Do what the Spirit say speak when the Spirit say speak. I'm gonna speak when the Spirit say speak. Like the Soldier of Truth and Reverend Martin Luther King. I'm gonna speak, Lord, speak, Lord. Do what the Spirit say dance when the Spirit say dance. I'm gonna dance when the Spirit say dance. Like dance, Jamison and Baba Chuck Davis gonna dance, Lord, dance, dance. Do what the Spirit say sit when the Spirit say sit. Oh yeah, I'm gonna sit when the Spirit say sit. Oh yeah, I'm gonna sit like dear Miss Rosa Parks gonna sit. Well, Lord, I'm gonna stand when the Spirit says stand. I'm gonna stand when the Spirit says stand. I'm gonna stand for my rights and for peace and justice. Stand, 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 stand. I'm gonna march when the Spirit says march. I'm gonna march when the Spirit says march. Like the march for Martin from Selma to Montgomery, gonna march down, march down, march, march, march. I'm gonna do what you want. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna shout. I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna write. I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna march. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna do what the Spirit say do. What the Spirit say do. I'm gonna do what the Spirit say do. I'm gonna do what the Spirit say do. Lord, Lord, and obey the Spirit of the Lord. Do what the Spirit say do.
Wow. Okay, everybody ready to do and dance and sing? Okay, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lake County. We welcome you and come whomever you are. We know that you come here for different reasons. Some to find community or to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to question, to find comfort, and perhaps to find answers to some of your big questions. We welcome all of you. We know you come from different places, different religions, beliefs, backgrounds, but we hope you find comfort, connection, and challenge and love here. We hope you find ways to provide outreach to others at UUCLC and in our local community and even the entire world. We are honored to welcome back today one of our favorite speakers, David Crump, who will deliver today's message, a reflection on spiritual rootedness. David, who is the son of missionaries, grew up in Brazil with a very multiracial perspective that many of us don't have. He works to improve the lives of migrant workers and marginalized people, and we look forward to his message later today. I also welcome any first-time visitors who have, or those who have returned after a long absence. If you would like to and feel comfortable introducing yourself or your visitors, please wave your hand or do your little electronic hand. And I see Pam and Andrew. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, Andrew is working in the yard. We just moved from most recently from St. Pete, but before that, very recently from Key West. So we're in Mount Dora now, and thank you for including us today.
Well, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And they have already joined one of our groups, and we're with a discussion group Fridays. So anybody
Yeah.
else?
Carol Welter, I think it is.
Hi, very happy to be back with you all and to see your dear faces. I can see Kit and Phyllis, and it's just lovely to be back with my family again. I'm still in Atlanta, but I will now be a member of your congregation again. It's so good to see you.
Good. It's good to see you too. And aren't you a singer?
I am.
Yay. Anybody else interested in introducing yourself or a
Christy,
visitor?
this is Kristen Hughes calling.
Okay, Kristen.
I noticed down in the bottom row of my wonderful gallery, my dear friend Pete Nelson has joined us from Maryland. Pete, wave your hand at everybody.
Welcome. Okay, it's so nice to have new faces and old ones too. Okay, is that everybody?
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you.
Oh, okay, Pete.
I'm unmuted. Sorry. June Sweeten, move your camera. We can't see you. A little more, unless you're hiding.
Well, some people want to do that.
Can't see. There we go.
All right, June. Yay. Thank you, Pete.
Somebody else was, yeah, Debbie, owner Debbie. We're looking at her fire alarm.
Or her light.
See,
Well,
there?
I guess she doesn't want to be seen.
Or she's not. Maybe she's not there.
That's up to people if they want to be seen or not. But thank you. Okay, I'm going to, what do I need to say now? Where am I? All right. So it is so nice for all of us to be together again, new and old. I'm going to light our chalice with the words of Deborah Falk. And after I read some words, then we're going to sing Spirit of Life. So a chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundation of freedom, reason, and tolerance, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that visions a world flourishing with equality for all her people, a faith that demands living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is a symbol of the spark of all this within each of us. So let's sing Spirit of Life. We make time each Sunday for those who wish to offer a joy, concern, or sorrow, or who wish to set an intention for the following week.
These words for our call to reverence this morning are my translation of the chorus of a folk song written by the Argentine troubadour, Peteco Carabajal. The song title is Mis Viejos, My Old Ones, which could refer to parents and perhaps grandparents. But I sense there are more layers of possible meaning here. For me, it is about who we are, rooted in the origins of the universe, in the millennia of our ancestral evolution, as well as in the fact that each of us comes from the union of two people. The brief, but for me deeply moving chorus of Mis Viejos. I come from a world that is brown, from the union of moon and sun. I come from an ancestral encounter. I am the spark of a dream of love. You may notice that the theme running throughout our service this morning is roots or rootedness. I invite you to be open now to the Himalayan root chakra music and images during these next minutes of silent reflection.
We will now say our congregational covenant when it comes up on the screen. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now David will present today's message.
Thank you, Christy. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you again for the invitation to be here. I appreciate being with this group. Appreciate all of you. And being able to provide the messages is not, I mean, I certainly don't pull these out of the box, so to speak. It gives me an opportunity to think about some things and to put some thoughts into words that I hope are meaningful to you as they are to me. I want to begin by acknowledging at the outset that my thoughts this morning are largely autobiographical. I am a minister ordained in a Christian denomination, and I still consider myself to be Christian. However, as I've said on other occasions here, I make that affirmation not in an exclusionary way, but with doors and windows fully open to science, to other faith traditions, and to those who disavow any religion. In fact, my own Christian faith draws from and is watered and nurtured by other faith sources, rituals, and actions. So I hope that what I have to share from my own personal journey this morning is for each of us a place where we can make some connections with our own views, experiences, and journeys in this world. A few weeks ago, I was talking with Harold, a retired minister friend of mine, one of the wisdom figures in my life. He was telling me about correspondence he is having with a young woman who had first converted to Christian fundamentalism, and then later, when she married a Muslim man, she moved to Islam. But then more recently, she has left both traditions and expresses that she has no faith connections anymore. I shared with Harold that actually more and more I can identify with the woman he described, that I too find myself with less and less of a sense of significant connection to any faith tradition. He responded in his own gentle way, saying that he had challenged this friend asking about roots. Where are you rooted? What gives you a sense of place, of stability and nurturing? What anchors you when the storms come? He posed the same question to me. I had to think a bit, but then recognized a connection that I had been feeling recently, but had not actually identified explicitly in my thinking prior to this conversation. During these weeks of quarantine, my partner Isaura and I have been watching the live Sunday morning broadcasts on YouTube of a Catholic Mass in Brazil. The priest's name is Julio Lancelotti. Known as the priest of the people, for decades his parish has been a place of refuge for the thousands of homeless people in the megacity of São Paulo. The liturgy on Sunday mornings is in all of its parts, music, readings, homily, prayers, absolutely saturated with words of truth spoken to those in power, together with messages of justice, calls to resistance, and visions of healing and hope, challenging us to work for and encouraging us to believe that a different kind of world, a world of real equity, abundance, and justice is possible. Reflecting on my friend's question about roots, I knew the answer. That's where I find hope, Harold. I have difficulty and in many ways have to say that I no longer believe in the dogmas of Christianity. At times I struggle with even the basic religious proposition of God. Much of the scriptures I no longer accept as being intended to be read literally. But when the tradition, the scriptures, the rituals, the message and prayers point unhesitatingly, insistently to a call to and vision of a new kind of world where there are no longer people homeless, a world where there are not rich and poor, but where everyone has enough, where people are treated as equals, respected and valued without regard to the color of their skin, their sexual preference or gender identity, without regard to where they are from or what religion or no religion they hold. That religion, that spirit is where I am rooted. And I confess that being present virtually for some months now at the masses led by Father Lancelotti, my somewhat tattered, shaken faith has been renewed. Actually, I find myself being called back to an earlier root, perhaps in a more secularly informed way now. A foundational faith and intellectual source for me since early college days and then pursued more formally in my ministerial education and graduate studies has been the writings and work of Latin American theologians of liberation. For those who may be familiar, names like Gustavo Gutierrez, Leonardo Boff, among others. Liberation theologians point to scriptures too often ignored or passed over lightly in the church. Scriptures that because of their tough demands, their challenge to the lifestyles and systems benefiting those enjoying great wealth, great power, or both, kings, lords, presidents, moneyed parishioners, as well as in some cases ministers, bishops, and popes. Rather than being taken at face value, these scriptures have, in much of the church's history, been spiritualized, made to be about values of the heart rather than the concrete realities of the real world. Challenging this tradition, liberation theology reclaimed these scriptures for what they are: calls to be a people with a different vision, a people for whom faith is not simply intellectual assent or a change of heart, but a way of hope, and most importantly, a way of life. Through the mouth of the Hebrew prophet Amos, we hear the voice of God, chastising those who see no contradiction in being upstanding worshipers on the Sabbath, while taking advantage of and oppressing the poor and less powerful during the rest of the week. To them, God says, I hate, I despise your feasts. I take no pleasure in your solemnities. Even though you bring me your offerings, I will not accept them. Your stall-fed communion offerings, I will not look upon them. Take away from me your noisy songs, the melodies of your harps. I will not listen to them. Rather, and this is what God is looking for according to Amos, rather let justice surge like waters, and righteousness, which we can understand not only as right living, but as right relationships. Let righteousness flow like an unfailing stream. Similarly, Christians have largely skipped over certain passages in the Christian scriptures. According to the gospel writer Matthew, Jesus essentially says, the way you get into heaven is not with some kind of religious or institutional attachment, which is what the church has tended to teach. Rather, you get to heaven by investing your lives in the poor, in those who are victims, those rejected and marginalized in society. Quote, those who feed the hungry and give drink to the thirsty, Jesus says, and those who welcome the foreigner, the illegal alien, if you will, and the stranger, those providing clothes for those who lack, who care for the ill and visit those locked up in prison. And in another passage, Jesus adds to the list, those who provide a word of hope and good news to the poor and offer release, liberation for those imprisoned or held hostage. If you do these things, Jesus says, you will be welcomed into the kingdom of God. Or better perhaps, in living in this way, on behalf of your sisters and brothers, the little ones, the disregarded ones, the rejected ones, in this way, you show yourself to be a citizen of the vision that I call the reign of God. In the worship services of the more liturgical Christian traditions, Catholics, Episcopalians, Lutherans, there's a place, actually a couple of places, where the priest says, the Lord be with you. And in English, the response is, and with your spirit. You see, we stay on the ethereal, the spirit level. However, in the Portuguese version of the Catholic Mass, the response is different, and I love this. When the priest says, the Lord be with you, the people respond, God is in our midst. In other words, faith and spirit reality is right here in this world where we live. For me, that can be a way of understanding Jesus' language of the reign of God. In living our lives, at times perhaps even sacrificially, certainly with love, self-giving, and compassion for the other, we create for ourselves and for those around us the possibility of a world drenched in humanity, in the highest human and, dare I say, divine ideals. It is to live out the hope and vision of a world focused not on power, not on money or things or survival of the fittest, but on the common good of all. Latin American liberation theology raised up from the scriptures an understanding that has gained some ground in the church, not enough, but some. This understanding is summarized in the phrase, God's preferential option for the poor. In other words, the poor, those who are oppressed, the victims, those on the margins, and those marginalized hold a special place in God's heart, and is not simply left in the hands of the divine, but rather speaks to the call and priority for our lives to be for the other, especially those who are left out. In a lecture I heard recently by Father Brian Massingale, a professor of theology at Fordham University in New York, he put it this way. He asks the question, who are those most easily bullied or ignored or downtrodden or put down in our society? He then affirms, it is precisely these who have a special claim upon our consciences, and I would add, upon how we live our lives. In a book titled Something Beautiful for God, Malcolm Muggeridge writes about Mother Teresa. She is fond of saying, he remembers, that what the poor need more than food and clothing and shelter, though they need these things too desperately, is to be wanted. It is the outcast state their poverty imposes upon them that is the most agonizing. He continues, Sister Teresa has a place in her heart for them all. To her, they are all children of God, and so deserving of all love. A few years ago, Isaura and I visited a community in the remote regions of the Amazon, a place where the American nun, Dorothy Stang, and other members of her community lived and worked. From her faith, Sister Dorothy was an outspoken advocate for the rural workers and peasants in that region, and a fierce defender of land reforms in Brazil. But her outspokenness challenged the place and privilege of the large and powerful landowners in the region. On the morning of February 12, 2005, as she was walking along a simple dirt road, carrying her Bible on the way to visit one of the local families, two men approached her. After a brief exchange, she was shot and killed in cold blood, giving her life for the vision of a world of equity and grace, where the needs of all people are met. Some years later, one of the local landowners was found guilty of ordering the killing. And today, a simple monument stands in the middle of the still dirt road, marking the spot where her body fell. To finish this morning, one final story. This was told by Father Julio, the priest of the people in São Paulo. He shared that on a recent morning, as they were providing breakfast to a group of people who were homeless and had spent a chilly night on the streets, a man appeared who he had not seen before. He said that his clothes were filthy, his bushy beard and hair unkempt. He seemed a bit of a loner, and after receiving his plate of food, he found a place by himself off to one side, sitting on a curb. When he finished eating, Father Julio invited him to come into their program area, where he could shower and receive some clean clothes. And in talking with the man, Father Julio said to him, "You know, you have light in your eyes. You remind me of Jesus." Although still quiet and to himself, the man seemed grateful for the warm meal, shower, and clothing. He even got a backpack. And as he was getting ready to leave, Father Julio approached him again and said, "You are always welcome to come back. Any day of the week, any time. If there's something you need, you are welcome here. Come back, please, come back. I'm not always here personally," he said, "but this is Ana Maria, and she is always here." The man nodded, and as he turned to go, Father Julio asked him, "So when you come back, what are you going to say? What will you tell Ana?" And the man replied, "I will tell her that I am Father Julio's Jesus." Father Julio shared how touching this was for him. In the homeless ones, he explained, it is our Jesus who is sleeping on the streets. It was Jesus who died in the cold on the sidewalk recently, our Jesus. Recognizing the sacredness, however you like to name or describe it, embodied in each and every one of us, in each person we meet. Understanding, and for me this is a matter of faith, understanding that this affirmation of sacredness calls us, it demands of us that we not only dream of, but engage in whatever we can do to bring about a world of equity and justice where every person is valued and respected and able to contribute from who they are and to have all that they need for a decent and healthy life. And to engage in the struggle for this to be so, especially for those at the margins. To my friend Harold, this is the faith and commitment in which I am rooted.
Thank you, David. We're going to now sing Move On Home.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
You know, some in our congregation call our blue church our blue boat. So it's a special song for us. Plus, Peter Mayer, the person who wrote the song, has been at our church. Okay, we are so fortunate as a UU congregation family to have the family of our congregation to support all of us. And in order to continue our virtual services and to keep our beautiful blue boat home protected and ready for our eventual return, we ask for whatever financial support you can provide. So you can go onto the website, or as I said before, click on the chat room and donate, or download the app Give Plus from the Apple App Store or Google Play. Thank you for your donations today. Our closing words will be offered by David.
The words of E. Williams, a young African-American woman who for years was connected to the Highland Center in Tennessee and who passed away recently. She writes, "We are worthy, not because of what we produce, but because of who we are. We are divine bodies of light and darkness. You are not worthy because of what you offer, not for the support you give to others, not for what you give at all. We are worthy and are whole just because. In this great turning, in this great pandemic, in this radical readjustment and alignment, we are not disposable, we are needed. We are the very people that have withstood everything that has been thrown at us as a people. And as Maya Angelou would say, still I rise. We arise from the pain. We rise from the grief. We arise from the limits people place on us and the limits we place on ourselves. We rise to be the children and the ancestors. We rise to be our true selves in relationship to our families and communities, recognizing our liberating and whole selves, honoring them and others as we strive for abundant communities, abundant lives, abundant relationships, and abundant values and cultural manifestations. We are worthiness personified. I, you, and we are worthy and deserve a life where we are not always fighting for our existence. Imagine what we could create if we were not always in the struggle. Imagine what we could envision if we could just be allowed to go there. So tired of always having to resist, to fight, demanding, pushing. To everyone that has the courage, the power, the ability to co-create what we want and need, while being rooted in what we can't lose and who we are. You are the visionary. You are the hope. You are our ancestors' dreams. No, you might not ever end up on some list somewhere, but you are on a list in someone's heart and mind. And if it's in how you move in the world, so people can see by example, you are the embodiment of what we need. That's to all that are the embodiment. The embodiment not of productivity, but the embodiment of radical love, care, and sanctuary. It's time, embodiment time, embodiment, living one's values out loud. Let me every day live my values out loud. Let us every day live our values out loud, embodying our values, not the productivity quotient, beyond productivity, past productivity, true embodiment, life.
Thank you. Okay, we extinguish this chalice flame, daring to carry forward the vision of this free faith, that freedom, reason, and justice will one day prevail in this nation and across the earth. And now I have a surprise for you. Please go to gallery view. It should be a little 9 square box if you aren't in it already. And imagine that the people on either side of you are really next to you, and we're going to take your hands and reach out and hold hands with the person next, the people on either side of you, and give them a nice squeeze of love. And we're going to sing Weave to close our service with the Rosemary Crow Unity Singers from Boulder, Colorado.
We